Hey folks, welcome to Wake Up Charlotte to go on a Tuesday morning. A lot of folks picking up the pieces after those storms rolled through between like 5 and 7 o'clock last night. You guys were right on the dot. Let me tell you, you all said yesterday between 5 and 7, and sure enough, between 5 and 7 is when a lot of us saw the worst of the damage.
Crazy weather yesterday afternoon.
It was really crazy.
Goodness, yes.
You're going to have more on some of the forecasts and what we saw in just a second.
Well, today the National Weather Service will be making their way across the region as well. They're going to be surveying that damage. So at this hour, officials tell us several people are hurt, including one person in Southeast Charlotte after this tree fell on a home. Just really sad stuff here, but it's why we have Tradesha Woodard out, and she's surveying damage herself. Tradesha, what did you find?
Well, Kia, Ben, right now I'm at an intersection near downtown Mooresville, and believe it or not, this is actually a road behind me. Take a look. Massive trees hanging over power lines. It's just a big mess, okay? We did speak with someone staying over in the houses to the right, the brown houses, and they were just kind of talking about how loud the noises were they heard, and they can't get out to this road, so they're having to go into their intersection and into the neighborhood and kind of jump over some curbs just to get out here back onto this main road. But yeah, this is the scene. She said the power is still out, and right now they just left the house to try to get some water and some electricity. But as of right now, we did get an update from Duke Energy. They say they're continuing to work. It's taken about 3 to 4 hours to actually repair a lot of the damages, as you can see, like the one similar to here. And we spoke with the police this morning. They say that they are working to restore power, and they're hoping to have the area fully restored by the end of day. But of course, we'll be sure to bring you the latest updates. Reporting for Wake Up to Go, I'm Tradesha Woodard.
Hey, quick question, Tradesha. That is a huge tree out there. What road is that blocking over there?
Absolutely. So this is the intersection between McNeely and Main Street. It's near Mooresville downtown, and they have caution tape, they have signs up. There's no way anyone's coming in or going out. So they're having to find an alternate route to get to this main road here. You can see lots of traffic slowing down, taking pictures. Yeah, it's a mess for sure, Kia.
And Tradesha, give us an idea. A lot of times, I mean, the two weather experts here can speak to it more specifically. The storm damage is very isolated in very specific places. I mean, if you do a 360 view, is that just right there behind you, or is this like all across where you are right now?
And that's what's so funny about this, Ben. So if you look over here, you see power lines down, you see trees in the road. But if you actually pan over here to this Circle K, you can see a completely different scene, but the power is still out down there. If you walk down the street just a couple of blocks over, you'll see that the power is restored. So it's definitely scattered throughout this area, hit or miss, for sure.
Wow.
All right, thank you so much.
That's right there, right off Main Street in downtown Mooresville right there. Just the extent. So it's really just amazing how these storms can do this damage, the extent of it in one small area, and then across the street.
You could have been at that gas station and been perfectly fine,
Right.
and across the street, a whole different world.
And doing traffic, there's one a little bit closer to Lake Norman itself in Mooresville, and they were calling for a closed road, down power lines because trees were across the power line. That was a different incident. So there's multiple reports of that, and that was Fern Hill Road. So you can expect a bunch of those scenes, especially in Catawba County. There's multiple roads closed for just that. So rough situation. Let's
take a look and show the extent of the reports that we had. And you got to go back to 2003, back when we first started getting reports from the National Weather Service and Severe Storms Forecast Center. Look at this. In North Carolina and South Carolina, 278 reports from yesterday. Most of those obviously from wind damage, but extensive. And as far as time frame, looking back in history, the most we've ever seen in about the past 20 years. It's really only been about 20 years when we've been able to get significant reports like this. Before that, it was all word of mouth or coming in from the National Weather Service. That is a lot. The magnitude of what we saw across the area yesterday was just extensive damage across the region. This is we just took one radar view right here, and this one, as you can see, this is at 5:18, and you can see the heavy rain, the storms right there, right on top of Mooresville and Davidson, the northern part of Mecklenburg County. This is another view just to the right of Concord. Big storm system tracked across here. The other thing yesterday was the amount of lightning up in the right-hand corner there, on Interstate 85 between Concord and Salisbury. That's almost 2,000 strikes of lightning in a 15-minute period right there.
And Larry, if you can go back to the last image that we had, I want to point something out. You notice how that one chunk of the storm is so much further ahead of the other one? That's because the winds were so strong within that it drove it ahead of the actual main line.
Yeah.
This happens often, so it bows out on its own, where there were reports that you don't just get a severe thunderstorm warning, you're getting a significant severe thunderstorm warning where they were calling for winds up to 80 miles per hour. So it might have been a tornado with a little bit of bowing that was happening there, a little hook to it, but honestly, just from winds alone at 70 to 80 miles per hour can cause that damage just as much as a low wind tornado. And that's exactly what you were seeing there. So the winds were so strong that it pretty much made its own separate storm driving force, and that's why we saw most of the damage there.
Driving yesterday was just horrible. In fact, take a look at this right here. I mean, if you were driving, it was dangerous to be out there, but it happened right in the middle of people's commute on the way from work.
Yeah.
And this is what this is in Hank. This is in Mooresville, I think, right here.
Yeah.
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 He said that the intersection that Tradesha was at, the video, he shot 3 blocks from where it would happen. So to give people a good idea of how intense it was there.
It was just really horrible conditions yesterday.
No, I mean, thankfully I was at home, but you could, I mean, my windows and my doors were just shaking because the wind was so strong.
Yeah, and this was kind of a triple threat that you had the heavy rain. Luckily, it was moving so fast because these are flooding rains. If this was a slow mover, but it was moving so fast because of those winds. And Hank was saying specifically, here's the arrival of the storm. This is a 1-hour loop. For one, you can see a little notch that comes out. That's where you potentially might have had that tornado. And that's also when they issued that tornado warning through this area. But in that time frame, Hank says that he was coming from I-77, there was no rain, to about 90 seconds later, that heavy rain came through, and these are some of the heaviest rain rates you have. Right now, I did a measurement about, I think it was like 5:11. You were seeing it come down at 3 inches per hour.
And so if it rained 1 hour, even at 3 inches. The most I could find as far as totals is about 1.5 inches around Mooresville. But yeah, if it rained for an hour, just think how much rain they would have had. But that was a fast-moving system.
Very fast.
Luckily, we didn't have the flooding issues that we could have had with that storm.
Not to get you guys up on a soapbox, because I know it's probably something you care passionately about, but a lot of folks I saw on social media said yesterday, "Hey, my weather app says nothing."
That's the thing, right?
Oh, are you serious?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Weather apps. Some of the weather apps out there had.
I can't find the soapbox.
I know, had nothing for this yesterday, and that's why it's dangerous to follow apps that don't have local forecasters.
Trust your local news.
Doing it.
And that's why our WCNC app, look at that shameless plug, it will give you the extra data. It will show you the actual numbers, but we're going to be alerting you when there are these different type of warnings. And this was when we were looking way out. This is the Storm Prediction Center that we saw from the morning go from a 30 to a 45% chance for wind damage.
I can't remember the last time I saw a 45%. The graphic that we use, I'm not sure if I even remember that in this area. 45%.
Not that widespread?
No. I mean, this was kind of a one-time event, and hopefully it doesn't happen again. This widespread, the magnitude of it. And it covered so much of the United States. I mean, how many people with that power right now? There's like 1 million people that have power across the United States.
Yeah.
With all the storms that hit yesterday, tornado warnings, severe storm warnings all across the mid-Atlantic states. We had that graphic that showed Atlanta, Charlotte, Washington, kind of the real magnitude of that, the expanse of territory covered, and that's what happened yesterday.
Yeah, over 800 wind damage reports. I think it was 868 last check, and these are changing constantly because new damage reports are coming in today, and that was from Mississippi to New York. So this is a widespread system. Meanwhile, over 30% of those were here in the Carolinas alone. Yeah. I think the last time we really had an outbreak of damage, it wasn't so much our area, was 2011, where it came from the massive tornadoes that came through. But as far as pure wind damage, you're almost talking about dating even past 20 years, Hugo status, where that much widespread damage.
It's normally hurricanes and tropical storms that do this kind of wind damage, and that's mainly coastal areas. And sometimes it can move inland like Hurricane Hugo did back in 1989. That's how far back that goes.
But you were in 3rd grade then, so.
Yes, keep talking to that. When I was on the air.
It's not like you were on the air here working at this station at the time or anything like that. That's right. A reminder of why you get your forecast from humans and
exactly. And now we know what a perfect setup is. All you need is a heat advisory followed by a perfectly timed storm system to arrive in the late afternoon, and then boom, you got some records.
And that's the other thing that's unique about this is the fact that we did have those two come together quite often it's not summer. You have the heat advisory, and it's just heat that we deal with. But then combine the two together, and it shows the volatility of how hot it was yesterday. I don't think we got to 104, 105 heat index, but which was good. But it was hot. It got to 92 degrees.
And boy, did you feel the difference on the other side of it?
Ooh,
Yes. When you went out afterwards, it was a complete difference. It was crazy.
So we had heat indices drop from 100 to 74 degrees in that short amount of time frame. So in an hour, you dropped by 25 degrees.
That's
Totally
insane.
All right, folks, here's hoping that you are safe and sound where you are and that you have power as well. Of course, you can always find the latest forecast inside the WCNC app. That's a good one.
That's a good one.
That's a really good one, powered by humans. And we'll see you back here.
Humans.
We'll see you back here tomorrow.